Let's talk more about this arranged marriage because, as far as
Yeah.
I know, I may be wrong about this, but statistically, arranged marriages have some of the lowest rates of divorce. Um, so, what happened?
Well, first of all, good on you for knowing that. Because whenever I talk to someone and say arranged marriage, they're like, oh my goodness. And I'm like, actually, in theory, it wasn't really, it's not the worst idea if you think about it, as long as the people who are arranging know you and the other person well. That's, if they don't know you, then they can't base that. But I got into an arranged marriage. Something bad, I'm going to allude to, was taken away from me when I wasn't ready. I think everyone that's adults will know what I'm talking about. And so my parents viewed that as it's always the girl's fault because we're not allowed to date. We grow up with this idea that our parents choose out our life mate for us based on political ties, religious ties. And so they were like, well, that's a direct ramification of the fact you dated. So taking away shame from that, they were like, oh, must get her married before the next person finds out. Like before that, oh no, she's damaged goods, expire date. And that's how I got into an arranged marriage. And he was great to me. He wasn't super old or like super, like nothing weird. He was great to me. Great person. I mean, we were best friends. He was just gay. So
How'd you find that out?
Sick.
a lot of
Like,
trial
you
and
have
error on the
visual
error part
confirmation,
more.
or like, okay,
I know it's kind of like that, like more of the error part, and then starting to do inquiry based on that. And I'm like, let's see what we will find in search histories or like looking around and gathering my own.
You you found
but
out
you
he
had a
was gay
kid
by
with this man.
finding like
I don't want to say that. I had a lot of other cues pointing me in the direction, but that was a big key portion of it, honestly. That was the first real confirmation or outside of my head that I had of that and outside of mine and his experience, which just stays between me and him. I can't really explicate or, speak on that. So that was
But
the first real
but you guys had a
external
kid
proof.
together. You have a daughter. You have a child with this man.
We
How does that
do.
work?
We worked so hard on that. So is she's everything. She's 8 years old. I mean, I really wanted a kid. I'm the girl that was 12 years old and started a future email account for my daughter and started writing her emails when I was little. So she won't have to go a day without her mom when, I die someday. But like, we had a lot of medicinal help, a lot of ovulation sticks, a lot of, oh my God, it's a smiley face on the ovulation stick. Oh, go. So yeah, very mechanical.
What what's the involvement that he has like in your kid's life now at all? Is he around at all?
So not only did I not get to choose, y'all, I feel like this is gonna get more tragic. I'm sorry, but he also comes from the one state in the entire 50 states that practices Napoleonic law. So my daughter has to stay in Louisiana because that is where he was. That's where I moved, and she has to stay there till she's 13. Random age, I don't know why 13. Only state that still goes by it.
So
She was
so
born
she's with
here.
him full time, is what you're saying.
So we're
Or how does that
50-50.
work?
She's with him during the school year. So she was
Okay.
here she was born here, raised here. I homeschooled her. I'm a teacher. So she didn't leave until she absolutely had to.
Maybe I'm not understanding. What's the current arrangement that you all have? Like with the school year and then the summer she's with you, or like how does that work?
All
Is the
holidays.
plan to not like if you said until she's 13, is the plan for her to go with you full time? Like, is that what's like, or is it going to be 50-50 until she's 18? Like, what's the idea?
So apparently she can decide at 13. I don't know what happens cognitively at 13 for you to make a good decision on that. I want to move closer to her, but I have no support system there. So it's very hard on my heart. Because the only reason I moved there was I was married. And then, when I got a divorce, I was shipped back to my original sender. It was like return.
So what's the ideal situation? Like you hope she chooses to stay with you full time? Would you still want to do 50-50 custody? Like what do you think you're going to do? Or what would you like to see happen?
I think selfishly, of course, I want to say be with me 100%. That's my knee jerk reaction. But I think that the roles that her dad and I play in her life are very integral and different. They're differently and equally powerful. And I don't want to step in that position. And I don't want him to step in the mom position for me either. I think both parents being around would be ideal for my daughter.
Yeah. But
I
you
just
moved
have to be
away, right?
courageous enough to
Chose to move.
move back.
Yeah, but you chose to move for what exactly? 'Cause you can be a kindergarten teacher anywhere, right? Like,
I
that's not
sure
something that's
can.
so that's I mean, it's not location independent, so, like, why did you decide to leave?
To be completely honest, I wasn't strong enough. I started crumbling at that point in my life. I was going through really bad postpartum, and honestly, my if there's one family that's more conservative than my own, it's my ex-husband's. So, like, his parents haven't even gone to an American restaurant, and they've lived here for, I don't know, their whole lives. The mom doesn't even own a pair of jeans. So, things like that, it was very constricting in that area, and there's so many of them. So it's like little India. All the moms, brothers, and sisters, and their children, and their children's children, their grandparents are all there. So you go to the grocery store, you're on Bourbon Street, anywhere you see somebody, and you're just like, oh my gosh. So it's a lot of his family.
So you moved to get closer to your family?
And also create some distance from what was essentially my support system, which was his family.
Create
Okay.
distance from your support system? I'm not understanding that. How
Well,
does that
in the
make you stronger?
It doesn't necessarily make you stronger. I think that relying on people, knowing when to ask for help, and then knowing I think that takes and asking for it is probably one of the most courageous things you can do. It's just when it was divorce time, no matter how good of a relationship I had with them, aunt, sister, anyone, the way in my culture it works is you always end up supporting blood. There's like a saying. And so his family naturally would, you know, side with him. In divorces, it's very, very strict. Like when you're divorced, you're just out of the family. It's there's not so much like the American divorce setting, like mentally. There's a lot of stereotypes associated with it.
Okay, I think I'm getting it now. So it's like they were your support system before, but after
Mhm.
divorce, they weren't anymore, and so you were left without that support system.
Yeah, I think a good way of saying is they couldn't be anymore, is what at least I thought or felt like.
Did you make the decision to move before or after you knew about this law?
Oh, I didn't know about it until uh actually, yeah, I was back here when I was 8 months pregnant. I had my daughter here. We were separated during my pregnancy. Yeah. So I
I
moved
don't
before
know.
I was aware of the law.
Okay. Okay.
All right, guys, I really hope that you enjoyed that clip. If you want to check out the full-length podcast episode, you can find that right over here. Also, make sure you visit my website over here where you'll find my supplements, the opportunity to book me privately one-on-one for coaching, and most importantly, my new School of Unplugging, which you'll find on the courses tab. Newer to the channel, hit subscribe.